Hi, my name is Michael, and you're about to learn why the stories you love are garbage. And today we're talking about Blade Runner. First of all, I know there are multiple versions of this movie. I've only seen one, not sure which one it was. There was no narration, which I know to be in some of them. There was a unicorn dream. Hope this narrows it down. There was a time in my life when I was a huge Philip K. Dick's fan. It passed relatively quickly once I realized that all of Dick's works are pretty much the same, that for someone praised for his imagination, he didn't seem to possess much of it. Anyway, I managed to miss the novel, hugely popular novel, that Blade Runner is based on, and so I don't know how the adaptation compares to the original. Nevertheless, the amount of holes in this story is absolutely staggering. Let's break it down. So, we begin with a text scroll, and I already have a number of issues with it. Talk about efficiency. The first comes actually from the movie title, which is later in the text clarified to be the name of specialized police units hunting replicants. That's stupid.
You stupid.
The way names work is that they are either descriptive or short, or both, I guess. Cop, for example, comes from copper, which isn't descriptive at all, but it's quite short. Same for Bobby, Ment, whatever. Police officer, on the other hand, is not short, but it's descriptive. Blade Runner is neither. No one in their right mind would name the police unit Blade Runners. This name is cool for sure if you are 13, but in reality it would never happen. The text also mentions that androids, called replicants in this story, are stronger and faster than normal humans, so let's pin that for later. There is an unintentionally hilarious moment there when the same text mentions that androids are at least as smart as their creators. Which kinda tracks, given that some of the plot holes we'll see can only be explained by everybody involved being extremely stupid. There is also a mention that androids' presence on Earth is punishable by death. It does not say whose death. Certainly not androids themselves, as the same text says that killing an android is not even considered, well, killing, it's retirement. I guess it applies to whoever brings an android to Earth, but then why not just say so? Then we have a panorama of nighttime LA with fires coming from buildings from time to time, and I can't figure out what those are supposed to be. Explosions? Well, setting is certainly cyberpunk-ish. It's not like there is an all-out war on the streets. Or is it factories exhaust? But that's mostly smoke, not fire. What's going on? We never see those fires again, so I guess they don't matter. Now, the most egregious plot hole comes shortly after, but it then repeats many times throughout the movie. See, when Deckard, the protagonist, is being dragged back to the police, he's shown some footage of another police officer, Holden, being almost killed by the android, followed by the pictures of the androids he, Deckard, is supposed to hunt. So, had Holden seen those pictures? If so, why did he bother with the test? Here is a guy whose face exactly matches the mugshot. Just shoot him. He's obviously a robot. Maybe the robots are mass-produced and there are others that look the same, but the whole point of testing was to figure out if it was a robot or a human. Well, just look at him. And the same happens several times later. Deckard finds one of the androids in a club doing a snake dance, whatever. For some reason, he pretends to be from a clearly non-existent government agency. I have no idea why.
I'm from the Confidential Committee on Moral Abuses.
Like, what was his purpose? He should already know that girl is an android because, again, he had seen her mugshot. If his idea was to follow her and hopefully find other androids, okay, but then he shouldn't have shown his face to her at all. He doesn't need to search through her dressing room. He should know who she is. And another android he finds in this big empty building. She pretends to be a mannequin. And he actually gets close to her, close enough for a punch, despite her face, which again, he knows being clearly visible. Even if he had doubts, shooting a mannequin from a safe distance shouldn't be a problem. Then there is an interview with Dr. Tyrell, who explains that androids might not even know they are androids at all, since they are provided with fake memories of their childhood, random mementos, that kind of stuff. Which kinda conflicts with the opening text. See, if an android thinks themselves human, they won't, for example, try to lift a rock that's spinning down a human worker, because they know this feat is beyond human abilities. It's not enough to have abilities. One needs to be aware of those, otherwise they go to waste. There is also this experiment with Rachel, which is kind of weird. Deckard at some point demands that Rachel just answer questions.
Answer the questions, please.
But he never asks a question. He presents situations but doesn't ask what her reaction would be, which again makes him look stupid. Also, why did it take more than 100 questions with Rachel, but the very first android couldn't handle 2? It's not like he's a different generation. His file clearly says he's Nexus 6. Speaking of Rachel, she remembers getting frisky with her brother, but that is, according to Deckard, a memory of Tyrell's niece, so it's not real. But why would Tyrell's niece tell her uncle about that? By the way, the opening text says having androids on Earth is punishable by death. Isn't Tyrell at least remotely afraid? Or at least cautious? He has an android on Earth, and he brags about that to a cop. Well, he's probably too important to care about those little details. But also, we are led to believe that Tyrell is so important because his corporation is making the androids. Okay, but we clearly see that people on the streets are making artificial animals, like snakes or even ostriches. Humans are, in fact, animals. Maybe our brain is more complicated, sure, but the difference is more quantity than quality. Ostriches have a brain too, you know. So, Deckard does some investigating, and at some point he needs to have something analyzed. You'd think he would go to the police lab, but no, he turns to some old woman on the street. It can be argued that being retired, he doesn't have access to the police resources anymore, but that doesn't hold water. He's dragged into all this by the police, so they likely won't deny him. Also, later in the movie, he parks in a restricted area and gets out of trouble by claiming he is a cop, which the other cop checks. So he's very clearly in the system. Then, at some point, Deckard has this aforementioned dream about a unicorn, which is clearly there just to make people wonder why the hell it is there. But, that's fine. Dreams don't have to make sense after all. And then we have the final brawl between Deckard and the main android. The main android calls Deckard by name, which he had no business knowing. Then he saves Deckard's life for no reason other than to have an audience for a monologue.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
I've seen source code you won't dare maintain.
Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion.
Web pages formatted with tabs and spaces.
I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate.
I watched compiled files uploaded without version control.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears.
You don't even know what tears are. Finally, the antagonist just says, "Okay, I'm out," and drops dead.
I'm out of here. Frank.
And there is a scene that starts with Deckard and Rachel playing piano and then turns to something else. We see a woman in distress trying to leave. We see a big, strong man physically preventing her from doing so. We see him positioning himself between her and the only exit. We see him making her play a romantic scenario that he invents.
Say, kiss me. Kiss me.
We are given an understanding that they have sex afterwards. So, is our protagonist literally a rapist? I'm sorry, but after that scene I have a real trouble caring about anything that happens to him. Actually, strike that. I care. I just prefer that he dies a gruesome death. That's all I have to say. We'll see you next time. Bye.